The deadliest ship sinking in history killed more people than the Titanic and the Lusitania combined, and there's a good chance you've never heard its name. That's not an accident. Some disasters get remembered, others get buried. What almost every ship on this list has in common is that someone, somewhere, promised the people on board it couldn't go down. Engineers, owners, captains, all convinced right up until the water started pouring in that the sea simply couldn't beat their design. What does it actually take to convince thousands of people to trust a piece of steel with their lives? These are 6 ships that were supposed to be unsinkable, counting down from bad to almost incomprehensible. Number 6. In July 1915, a passenger steamer never even makes it out of the dock. It's tied up on the Chicago River, loaded with more than 2,500 factory workers heading out for a company picnic when it slowly rolls onto its side and sinks in 20 feet of water, just 19 feet from the wharf. This was the Eastland, and 844 people died without the ship ever leaving port, many of them crushed or trapped below deck as furniture and passengers slid across the tilting floors. The bitter twist? 3 years earlier, after the Titanic, new laws forced ships like this one to carry far more lifeboats than before to make them safer. On the Eastland, that extra weight sat high above the waterline, and it's what made an already unstable ship top-heavy enough to flip. The safety measure built to prevent another Titanic helped cause this one. That wasn't the last time safer than ever turned out to be false confidence. Number 5. In September 1994, a modern car ferry sets out across the Baltic Sea on a routine overnight crossing, the kind of trip its passengers had made dozens of times without a second thought. It's internationally certified, professionally crewed, considered one of the safest classes of vessel afloat. Then, in rough weather, just after 1 a.m. on the 1st of September, the locks on its massive bow door give way. Water floods the car deck in minutes. This was the MS Estonia, and it capsized and sank in under 30 minutes, killing 852 people, most of them trapped inside as the ship rolled onto its side and steep corridors turned into vertical death traps. Only 137 people survived, many of them pulled from the water half frozen. It remains the deadliest peacetime shipwreck in European waters since the Second World War, proof that internationally certified isn't the same as impossible to sink. 80 years earlier, another ship learned that lesson the hard way in almost total silence. Number 4. 2 years after the Titanic, its own disaster inspired a wave of new safety upgrades across the shipping industry. Extra lifeboats, reinforced bulkheads, better trained crews. One ocean liner in the St. Lawrence River in Canada had all of it. Then, in dense fog, just after 1 a.m. on May 29, 1914, a coal freighter tore a gash into its side. This was the Empress of Ireland, and despite every post-Titanic safety upgrade on board, it sank in 14 minutes, faster than the Titanic itself, and with a death rate far higher, since so many passengers were asleep in their cabins and never made it to the deck at all. 1,112 people died, more passengers than were lost on the Titanic or the Lusitania. It happened weeks before the outbreak of World War I, and the world's attention moved on almost immediately. To this day, most people have never heard of it. The next ship on this list wasn't sunk by fog or by its own design. It was hunted. Number 3. Nicknamed the Greyhound of the Seas for its speed, this ocean liner was widely believed to be too fast for any submarine to catch. On May 7, 1915, it was just off the coast of Ireland, near the end of a routine crossing from New York to Liverpool, when a German U-boat fired a single torpedo into its side. This was the RMS Lusitania, and the ship many assumed was uncatchable sank in 18 minutes, faster than almost anyone on board thought was possible for a vessel that size. 1,198 people died. The sinking outraged the American public and helped push the United States towards entering the First World War 2 years later. But no ship earned a reputation for invincibility quite like the one that came before it. Number 2. Its builders called it practically unsinkable, divided into watertight compartments so advanced that flooding any four of them wouldn't sink the ship. According to a long-repeated but never fully confirmed story, a crew member once told a nervous passenger boarding in Southampton, God himself could not sink this ship. On the night of April 14th, 1912, on its very first voyage, it struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic. This was, of course, the RMS Titanic, and the compartments that were supposed to save it simply filled one after another, like ice cube trays, because the walls between them didn't reach high enough to stop water from spilling over the top. Around 1,500 people died in the freezing water, many of them because the ship, so confident in its own safety, wasn't carrying nearly enough lifeboats for everyone on board, only enough for about half. And yet, for all its fame, the Titanic isn't even close to the deadliest ship sinking in history. That title belongs to a ship most people have never heard of. Number 1. In January 1945, a former luxury cruise liner, once the pride of a state-run German leisure program built to be a floating showcase of engineering, was pressed into service evacuating German civilians and soldiers from the advancing Red Army. It was designed to carry under 2,000 people. On the night of January 30th, it left port carrying an estimated 10,000. Hours later, a Soviet submarine fired 3 torpedoes into its side. This was the MV Wilhelm Gustloff, and it sank in the freezing Baltic Sea in about an hour. Lifeboats froze to their davits in the sub-zero cold and couldn't be lowered. An estimated 9,000 people died, more than the Titanic and the Lusitania combined in a single night, including thousands of children. It remains the deadliest sinking of a single ship in recorded history, and because it happened in the chaos of a collapsing regime at the tail end of a world war, almost nobody talked about it for decades. Many people are hearing this story for the first time right now. 6 ships, 6 different reasons to sink, and underneath nearly every one of them is the same quiet assumption that this ship, unlike all the others, was the exception, that the engineering was too advanced, the design too modern, the speed too fast, the safety record too clean, for the ocean to win. The ocean disagreed every single time. What's striking is how often the confidence itself made things worse. Extra lifeboats that capsized a ship, a safer reputation that kept passengers calm right until it wasn't, a top speed that turned out to matter less than luck. So, the next time someone tells you something is completely safe, completely unsinkable, completely under control, it might be worth asking what that confidence is actually built on. If one of these caught you off guard, let us know which one in the comments, and subscribe because we're just getting started on the ways engineers have been proven wrong.